So let's dive into the absolutely charming and honestly pretty chilly origin story behind a wonderfully silly poem. It's just a perfect example of how the most everyday moments can spark some seriously creative ideas. Okay, let's just start with a question. What in the world do Wellington boots and a high-tech spacesuit have in common? I know, it sounds like the beginning of a really weird joke, but the answer? Well, it's right at the heart of our story. You see, our story doesn't start in the cosmos. Nope. It begins in a very, very cold room on a very specific day, January 6th, 2026. This is where a poet, Denis Martindale, found his rather unusual inspiration. So he gets up, he goes downstairs, and he checks the thermometer. And it reads 9 degrees Celsius. Now, that's not outside. That is inside his living room. Wow. That is seriously brisk. You can almost feel the shiver just thinking about it, right? So what do? Well, this wasn't just a job for a single sweater. Oh no, we are talking 4 pairs of trousers, 2 hoodie anoraks, a scarf, and even snow boots. He was basically wearing his own personal, multi-layered insulation system just to hang out in his own house. And right there, all bundled up, this little thought just pops into his head. If he's this cold in his own home on Earth, what must it be like for someone, way up there? And that simple, shivering thought was the tiny little seed for a whole poem. And from here, Martindale takes his own chilly experience and just blasts it into orbit. He starts imagining an astronaut who's facing the ultimate cold and is getting ready in the most illogical but kind of relatable way possible. So the poem kicks off with this fantastic image. It was so cold in my spacesuit, I had to wear my wellies. I mean, forget advanced thermal regulation. This guy is putting his faith in good old-fashioned rubber boots. Oh, but it gets better. He then adds this very down-to-earth layer of humor. And extra briefs my wife thought cute on models seen on tellies. And just like that, this high-stakes spacewalk now has a little touch of domestic comedy. And to top it all off, just like the poet himself, our astronaut adds scarves to his getup. He has completely thrown the NASA-approved gear list out the window in favor of whatever feels warm and cozy. So, our well-dressed astronaut heads out on his spacewalk to do some repairs. But, as you can probably guess, this unconventional plan has some unforeseen consequences. And at first, hey, it seems to work. He's out there, he's fixing things, and thanks to all his extra layers, he's much warmer. So, mission accomplished, right? Wrong. Because despite all his brilliant preparations, the inevitable happens. He gets a sniffle. And I think we can all agree sneezing inside a space helmet sounds like absolutely no fun at all. From there, it's just a total domino effect. The repairs get done, sure, but that sniffle turns into a little hack, which turns into a full-on cough. The space station doctor orders him to bed, and just a week later, his grand cosmic adventure gets cut short. He's being sent home. So, the astronaut returns to Earth, his entire mission derailed by a common cold. But, this ending, it's not a tragedy. Actually, for one person back home, it's the best news she could have possibly hoped for. And here it is, the fantastic punchline of the whole poem. From then on, no more space to roam. That pleased my wife no end. Yep, his career as a galaxy-trotting hero is over. And his wife? Well, she couldn't be happier about it. The poet himself actually adds this little note at the end of his explanation of the poem. It's just a perfect knowing wink to the audience about the, let's call them marital reasons, for his wife's delight. Enough said, indeed. So, okay, let's bring this all back together. What we've seen here is a direct line from a poet shivering in his living room all the way to an astronaut catching a cold in the vacuum of space. The poet had a really mundane problem, a chilly room, and he found a mundane solution, just put on more layers. And then he just magnified that problem to a cosmic scale and applied the exact same wonderfully absurd earthly solution. And that really is the key takeaway here. This silly little poem is just a perfect illustration of how creativity works. It's that magical and often funny leap you can take from an everyday problem to an extraordinary story. So the next time you're feeling a little too cold, or maybe you're stuck in traffic, or you're dealing with some other tiny everyday frustration, it's worth asking yourself, what great idea is hiding in your day?